everyone. So today we are going to look into Python basics and the key factors on how they try to contribute much into the development of advanced Python program. So without further ado, let's get started. So first, we're going to study about data types that are used in Python. So we can say data types. We have different data types that are used in Python. One of it being integers. We also have strings. We also have floats. We also have Boolean. So I'm going to explain about each and every one and giving an example that will be very helpful as you progress with Python. So first, let's start with integers. What are integers? So integers, these are numbers, basically. If you have basic understanding of mathematics, you will understand that integers are just numbers, and that does not change in Python. It can either be 5, it can either be 3, can either be even 1,000 is an integer. So in order to store these integers, we need a placement or a variable so that we can keep these integers. And a variable is like a store or a box where you can put in some stuff that you have. So for instance, we can say number is equals to 5. Now the word number on your left becomes the variable or becomes the box where you store the value number 5, which is an integer. For instance, if we can say number underscore 1 is equals to 28. Now number underscore 1 becomes the variable, and now the value 28 now is stored under the num underscore 1, which is the variable. So there are many ways you can be able to manipulate integers under Python with different variables. We can say number underscore 1 should number underscore 2 should be equals to 10, and we can be able even to add these variables. So to do that, we can say total is equals to num underscore 1 plus num underscore 2. Then we can print the total. We can say print total. Then we'll be able to see we get the answer 38. The same can still happen by even doing subtraction. We can say num1 minus num2, then you get 18. You can do the same, divide by, then you get 2.8. So that's how interesting Python is and how you can be able to use numbers. And as we continue and we'll learn about functions, you'll be able to see how we can use a function and call, and so that we can be able to make even our program more interesting, right? So that's all about integers. So again, we can study about what strings are. So a string is basically a sentence or a statement. For instance, this is just an example of a string. We can say this is nice. So this is a string, and a string is denoted using quotation marks. It can be a single quotation mark or double quotation mark or even triple quotation mark. So for instance, we can have this is nice, and all of these are strings. So what happens if we have triple quotation marks? If we have triple quotation marks, this is where we want to give different or multiple lines of statement about a program. All right, but we will not base ourselves into that anymore. So for these ones, we use strings. For strings, we use either single quotation mark or double quotation mark. We can say string underscore 1. We can say baby boy. Then we can say string 2 underscore 2. We can say baby girl. Right? So these are strings that have been stored into variables, string 1 and string underscore 2. We can even be able to print them. We can say print string. We print the variable that have stored the string. We can say print string underscore 1. And once you run that program, you'll be able to see indeed this baby boy. The same happens if you are going to print string underscore 2, right? So that's all about string. We'll be able to interact more as we continue with strings, how we can be able to manipulate them in our program. All right. For instance, we can even have multiple strings being stored under Python. And for instance, let me do that. Let's say we have multiple strings, and let's say we have girl, have a van, have mangoes. Okay, we need quotation mark. We have mangoes. So if we print now, when we have multiple strings stored in one variable, it will still print. Okay, so we can even be able to access each item or a specific item in a string. So, and how do we do that? We use indexing and slicing. We can index, we can use the index to call out any item in our string. For instance, let's say we need to get the item that is the second, but in Python we start to count from 0. So this is item number item 0, then this is item number 1. So how do we do that? We can say string underscore 1, string underscore 1, we can say 0 1, right? Then we can store this maybe into a variable. We can say extract, then we can say extract and run that. You can see we have singled out. Let's eliminate string underscore variable. Let's run it. You can see we have singled out that item because we have said it is in position 1. And like I said, when counting items, we start from 0, then 1, etc. So what happens if we want to extract the last item? We can say -1 when we are counting from the end. From the end, we say -1. So we can learn that, and you see we have mangoes. Let's say we want item 0. Then we get baby boy, right? That's how interesting we can be able to interact with the strings. We can also separate strings into individual items. For instance, how do we do that? How we do that? Let's say we had we can say string underscore 1. Let's say we had it as a statement. We can say this is statement. So we use a method called split to be able to separate this into individual item. So we can say let's make it a variable. Let's say separate. You can say string underscore 1 dot split, and now inside our dot split we can be able to space it out. Then we can say let us print separate, and you'll be able now to see that it prints each as an individual item from a string. We are able to separate the string into each individual item in that particular string. That's how interesting you can be able to use even methods to manipulate the string or data type in Python. Okay, let's do that for now. But we can also have another, we also have another data type which is known as floats. So for floats, basically these are decimals in Python. We call them floats in Python. So a float can either be 34.89, can be either be 50.90. All right, and we can also keep these floats in variables or in our box where Python keeps all the all the data types. We can have, let's say, new underscore float, and we can have old underscore float. All right, so these are floats, or what you normally call them decimals. So we can also manipulate them the way we were doing with the integers. We can say result is equals to new. Okay, we should start with old underscore float minus new underscore float, then print results. And when you do the subtraction, you'll be able to get this answer. And if you use your calculator, you'll be able to see that this is actually the answer. So we can be able to use floats just like how we used integers, and that gives us now into another segment that we will be able to use both floats, strings, and integers. And let's do that right now. Let's say combining data types 1. The reason I've said 1 because there is one remaining data type that I need to check into, but let us combine integers, strings, and floats. And how we do that, but let us also look into maybe the last data type, which is Boolean. And a Boolean is a condition. It gives a condition that a statement or anything can either be true or false. For instance, we can say a is equals to 4, b is equals to 3. Then we can say okay, let's say result. Okay, I don't need to use an if statement, but let me first describe that a Boolean is either true or false. Okay, let me do that. So let's say a is equals to 7, b is equals to 4, right? And we can say result is equals to a plus b print result. All right, then we can say a is less than b, and you see it says false because indeed a is greater than b. Let's say greater than, it will say true because indeed 7 is greater than 4. All right, so we can make this program even more interesting. We can say the end result is, okay, let's remove this. End result is that number, and okay, and the outcome. The outcome is then our condition. So once we save that, it will say the end result is 11 and the outcome is true. All right, that is how we can be able to manipulate Python. So, and to make it more, we can make it more interesting by using the Boolean. All right, exactly, you can be able to see that it changes to false. All right, okay, that is all about Boolean and how we'll use it to give conditional output. All right, so now let us go to something else we call lists, or Python lists. So we can be able to store all these data types into one thing called a list. Let's say, for instance, we have a list of mangoes, or not mangoes. Let's say we have a list of items from a shop. Okay, we can say shop, which is our variable, as a list. And to have a list, we use square brackets in Python. We can use double quotation mark. We can say salt. You can say soap. You can say water, right? You can also, let's say, for instance, we want to add integers as the, just to spice it up. We can use it even as more as we can. We can say, let's say 23. We can say 56. So once we can be able to print this, and we can say print shop, and you'll be able to see it prints, or it combines all the data types. We can, let's say, for instance, we need to have a float, let's say 67.90, and you'll be able to see it indeed prints out all the data types in a list. All right, for instance, now after understanding what lists are, we can be able even to identify each item from that particular item, from that particular list. Like we said, we start to count from 0, 1, 2, 3. We can be able to index out, or to get each item from its position. Let's say we want to get item number that is the second one, but now it will be index number 1. We can say index 1. All right, okay, we need to assign it to a variable. Let's say we have new underscore item. Okay, then we can, let's say we want to get it out. We are able to access our item from position 1, which is soap. All right, that is how we can be able to use the indexing. From that, let's say we want to get the item from the last, that is the last item in our list. We can use -1. So, and we get 67.9. What, let's say we have item number 3, then we get 23. What we have, item number 2, the same happens. So that is how you are able to get we are able to get or to get an item by using the indexing method. All right, we can also be able to find the length or the number of items in a shop, the number of items in a shop, and we use a method called length. Then we say shop. Then once you print, it will tell the number of items in our shop, and indeed there are 6. We can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 items in our list, and we have used len method in our shop to get the number of items. Okay, so that is how we are able to use or to manipulate data using list. We can be able also to sort this data into an ascending order, and we use a method called sort. So how do we do that? We say shop dot sort. Then let's print this out, but it gives, okay, let me see. Okay. We need to change that. Let's say shop. Okay, what am I missing? Let me see. Shop dot. You see what kind of error? Okay, the integers. Okay. Okay, let's try to change this. Let's say shop, it has a list of soap, sugar, salt. Let's say we have shop dot sort method. Okay, we make sure that it's not throwing error. Then let us print. Let's print shop, and we get salt, soap, and sugar. Unlike what we have in our list, it has sorted that into an ascending order. All right, we can use an dot sort method to be able to arrange the items into that order. Let's say, for instance, we want to add another item in our list. How do we do that? So we can say shop dot append, and we can add orange. Once we print that, it will append, or it will add another item in our list. All right, we also can be able to remove an item from our list. We can use the remove method. We can say remove, let's say soap, and once you print the number, the shop variable, indeed you'll see that it have removed an item soap. We can be able to also to remove the last item using a pop method. We can using a pop method, and now here we don't need to specify that any item that we want. but it will pop it out. We can print that, and it pops out this sold item from our lists. All right. I hope that is understandable now about list, how you can be able to interact with list in Python, and there are other aspects you can be able to use. All right. So let's also look to into something we call tuple, or what is a tuple. A tuple is similar to a list, but for tuple now, they are immutable. You cannot be able to manipulate them. You cannot be able to change them. And for tuple, we use parentheses to store values. For instance, we had shop, we can still use the same variable. Now we use parentheses. We can have mangoes, we can have oranges, we can have bananas. All right, and let's try now to print our shop and be able to see now our items have been printed. Okay, let's say we need or we want to change an item, or let's first try to get an item, or using the indexing, you can say new underscore item. You can say shop. We needed to have item 1. And before that, let's change here. We can say new underscore item, because that is what we want to slice out. We are able to get an item from a tuple. That is no problem. And we can also be able to, let's try if we can be able to append an item. We can say shop.append. We will need append method is used to add items. So let's say we have salt, and now let us print our shop and see whether a new item have been added. And you see now we have an error. Okay, you see that has no attribute append. It is very difficult to be able to change anything that is in a tuple. Okay, so that is one thing about tuples. You cannot be able to change. Okay, let's also try to change them or replace mangoes with another item. It is in position, or let's say we want it to be salt, and it is in position 0. Let us print that out. It will still throw an error. Okay, so a tuple does not, you cannot be able to change once you have placed any input. Okay, that is it about the tuples, how they are immutable, but you can be able to interact with that particular Python basic part. All right, so now because we have dealt with the data types and all that, we can go into something called for loops. For instance, let's say we have a list of items. Okay, say for loops. So we have a list of items from a shop, and as a list, I said we use square brackets. So we can have salt, salt, can have, let's say we have mangoes, you can have sugar, you can have soap. So let's say we have this list and we want to loop through this shop list by also identifying each item, or iterate over all items in this loop, in this shop. So we can use for loop. This is how we do it for, let's say, item in shop, we can say print item. We can start by that, a very easy for loop method. It prints each item on a single line because it singles out each item. All right, let's say we want to print item number 1. It will print, okay, let's see, okay, it does not, okay, it does not print. That's the way I needed it. Okay, so but that is how you are able to interact with the Python for loop. Also, you can be able to iterate through all, for instance, let's say we want to iterate through numbers. Okay, let's say we want to iterate through numbers, and let's say we have I is equals to, let's say, 20, and let's say we say for I in range, we can say, let's say we want to iterate through so that we can print 1 to 20. We can say print I, and let's say we have I plus equals 1. Okay, that throws an error. Okay, we need an argument. Apologies to that. Once we need to insert that we want it to range to from what position, and now it starts from position 1. Once you print that, you'll be able to get it will be able to iterate through all the numbers from number 1 to number 20, right? The same happens if now we wanted another value to print from, or the for loop will iterate from number 1 to 19. All right, that is how we can be able to use for loop to print from all, to iterate through all the values in this particular aspect. Okay, that is just but a brief. We also have a conditional statement which is called a while or while loop. In this case, let's say we can be able also to iterate through, and we can say let's have iterate through from numbers 1 to 20. I is equals to 0, and let's say while I is less than 20, let's say print I, then we can be able to say I plus equals 1. You'll be able to see it iterates through from position 0 to 19 in this case. All right, because we have said it should start from position 0. Okay, that is how we use the while loop to iterate through, and you can be able to see we have pressed this here so that it knows that it's going to iterate by adding value 1. Okay, so that is how we are able to use both for loops. You can be able to iterate through values using for loop, and also while loop in this case. Also, we can do the same. We can use another aspect in which we can say if I is equals to 0, we can say while true, can say I plus equals 1. Then we can say if, okay, now this is another statement. We can say if I is equals 3, we can say print continue. Let's say continue, or else we can say, for instance, if, okay, or we can say else print null. Okay, then it will print without stopping, an infinite aspect, because you are looping through using the while loop. For instance, let's say we want to print 29. It will print that consecutively without stopping. And why does it do that? And what are we required to do? We are required to tell our system to break. Once it runs that, it should break. All right? Or it should take a break. So that is how you can be able to manipulate these any value using the while loop. And again, because I have mentioned it, we have another statement known as if statement, if or else statement in this case. So how are we able to use if or else statement? Use if or else statement to also give a condition. All right, let's say A is equals to 4, or B is equals to 2. We can say if A is greater than B, we can say print false. We can say this is false. Or else, we are now giving a condition, or else we use something we call a if. If or else B is greater than A, we can say print this is true, else print we can say print value not found. Right, let us see. We say value not. Once you print that or you run that program, you'll get that output that says value not found. So this is a condition. We have used an if statement to say that A is less than B, right? And A is indeed greater. We said it is false. Then we said if B is greater, 2 is greater than 4, which is false, but we had the output true. Then if it cannot be found there, then we can say value not found. But this should be this way. Okay, oh, no. Okay, that is how we are able to use if statement, while loop, and for loop. So let's go ahead also and write a function in Python. How do we define a function? And this is what we'll be using mostly in Python when writing complex program, and to reuse the code, you use a function so that that program code can be able to be reused. So let's say we have A is equals to 4, then B is equals to 3. Okay, let's use that. We can say, or let us use something else. let's write a function, define, and let's say we can say, okay, hold on a second. So we can be able to use a function to add different values, and we can say add underscore value. We want to add item A and B. All right. And in this function, we can say, let's say, have a sum, or let's say result. And let's try to make this, okay, let's say result is equals to A plus B. All right. Then let's say, okay, we want to call out a function, add underscore value, we can say 23 as being the value 1, then another value, then they can be able to, okay, apologies, we need to print results. And once you add those values, or you call the function, this is how you call a function. This was our function, add underscore value. And now we get once we input the arguments 23 and 10, it will be able to add as how we had pressed it in our function method. All right. So that is how you can be able to use a function method. Also, we can have another way where we use even if statement. If A is less or equal to, is less or equal to B, we can say print false. We can use an statement, an if or else statement inside our method. We can say else, we can say print true, right? Okay, let's now call our function and underscore value, and we call our function by now pressing for different arguments. Say that it will print that is false, because our A is less than 5. It will be able to print that indeed our statement is false. That is how you can be able to use or manipulate data using functions. All right. So that's being it. We can also use Python. We can be able to write something else called a Python class. All right. And every object in Python belongs to a particular class. By the way, we had a shop which had soap. We had, let's say, salt. So to be able to know what type of a class the variable soap is in, we can say, okay, new skill. Let's say code that into that variable. Let's say we want to type of soap. Let us print new underscore skill. Okay. We don't need to use it as a string. It will tell you that indeed this is in a Python class called list once you print this, because we have placed it inside a type method, right? So everything in Python, once you insert it in a type method, it will tell you what particular that these objects are in a class type, what class type they are in. All right. But now let us write a class method. Okay, and we can say a class with students. We can have a function or even a function inside a class. We can say define, then we can initialize that and say self, the name of the student and the course. All right, then we can call out self dot name should be equals to the name. Then we can say self dot course should be equals to course. All right, so we can be able to use that, and for instance, we can be able to call these person, and let's say we want to say we store that into another variable called the user, and for this user we can be able to say that student's method, you can say the name is John and he's doing computer science. Once we print the user, we can be able to print the user. We can say print user. Let's see. Okay, it prints the method and the path type. So we can be able to say user dot name. Let's see, user dot name, and it prints the name. We can say also user dot course, and it will print John and computer science. So that's how we can be able to use a class method. We can even make this complicated or this list as huge as we can and print the methods inside our class type. Okay, so that is it for this session about the Python basic concepts. I'm looking forward to do more and also write more about Python. So please subscribe to this YouTube channel as we continue. Thank you very much.